to another Linfield Coaches CatChat. Joe Stewart here with head Linfield softball coach Jackson Vaughan. The day before, the Linfield softball team will fly out to Texas for the NCAA Finals in Marshall. Just a couple days since you guys clinched the Super Regional Championship over the Central Dutch. Gotta imagine it's been a little bit of a chaotic weekend, but gotta feel good at the same time, right?
Yeah, no, it's great. Obviously, we got a couple days. The one benefit of the regional getting moved up to Thursday, Friday is there's a little bit more time in between, so we got to spend some time with family and have a little bit of downtime as obviously we got all the travel plans figured out. So in some ways it was good. I think part of me prefers having the regional a bit later because I think it's easier for alums and fans to come on a weekend, but obviously it worked out on Thursday, Friday.
Still a decent crowd this weekend, though.
Yeah.
It was a great environment out at Del Smith Stadium. Dutch brought the heat, obviously, as they were able to steal a game off you, and I want to get to that in a moment, but just what does it mean for this team to make it in back-to-back years this far? I mean, the last time that this has happened for the program is 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
You've had some really great teams in between there, but to get back-to-back just really says to me that this is an era of a really special team these last couple of years.
Yeah, no, I think so. It's obviously really hard to do, and I think we had obviously such a great regular season, but obviously the team had returned enough, and I think when you return your number one pitcher with enough offense around, and obviously the expectations stay super high, and that was the case this year with Tayah coming back and obviously Tyler McNeely having such a great year. That certainly gave us the hope early on that we'd have a chance to come back, but we still needed people to step in and obviously fill the holes that we vacated last year with some good seniors, but certainly kids did that, and so the expectation was there, but it doesn't always mean it's going to happen. I mean, that's the expectation almost every year. So it was pretty cool to just see the year unfold, and there's some pressure. I think the kids kind of almost felt like if we didn't make it back, it was going to be a little bit of a letdown just because that was the expectation, and we'd had such a good regular season to not be able to cap it off and make it back to the World Series would have been, I think, a little disappointing for sure.
Yeah, it almost seemed like at the end of the game there, last year's celebration at the end of the Super Regional seemed, so much of a breaking through moment, a jubilation, whereas this one, it almost not, business as usual certainly, but certainly it seemed like the girls expected to be there. And kind of talking about that series, the determination really showed, obviously, on Friday after dropping the game on Thursday, to come back and respond the way that they did with a pair of run rule wins. Did it seem to express that determination that just they're not going to be stopped, at least at this point yet?
Yeah, I mean the loss was pretty disappointing just because it was a great game. It was an 11-inning game, and we just couldn't get the clutch hit kind of we needed to. And to Central's credit, I thought they played really well, made some plays, and got a big home run from one of their best players he's really not known for the long ball, but was able to hit a home run, and that made a big difference. And you go back and watch it, there's 5 or 6 plays, you change one play, we probably end up winning that game. But Central could say the same thing in some ways, but how the kids responded, I was a little worried just because I felt like we were a little frustrated just because we obviously didn't hit very well for our standards in the first game. But I thought the kids bounced back, and hitting's so funny how contagious it is. Once Bryn was able to open up game 2 with the home run and get us up, I thought that relaxed everybody, and a lot of hitting is a combination of being confident and relaxed to some degree, and I think that really set the tone. And then obviously we got the big inning going later on, but that certainly I think relaxed everyone immediately as soon as Bryn was able to get that home run, just because Tayah had given up a few things, but really had controlled them most of the time in game 1. So whenever we get a lead with her, our confidence level goes up pretty high.
Yeah, for Tayah, obviously going the distance in the 11-inning game, giving up 4 runs, but 2 of those deep in the extra innings, and then shutdown performances on Friday. I mean, 1 run over 10 innings, 5 for the day on Friday, about 5 over 21 for the series. That alone is incredibly impressive, especially against a team as good as Central. What does it say about just kind of her that she was that tough as nails at this point in the season?
Yeah, I think that's a accumulation of all the experience she's had. She's really pitched a lot and pitched against a lot of really good teams and really tough scenarios in all these playoff years, from being at ETBU and regionals to a couple of years ago to obviously being at the World Series last year, and then just our conference. Sometimes some of the conference games we've been in that have been huge against George Fox and things. She's faced enough pressure moments that she handles that pretty well now, and she also handles loss pretty well, because we've lost some games and she's had to bounce back and pitch really well for us the next day. And she's been used to, over the years, sometimes having to rely on her a little bit to throw as much as she did this weekend. It wasn't an ideal scenario, but certainly we were pretty confident she could handle it, just because physically she's obviously a pitcher who's a power pitcher by nature, but also is obviously extremely fit and works really hard at trying to make sure she's in prime shape to be able to do that for us.
And we had a nice moment at the end of Game 3 there when you had the big lead and 2 outs, and you went ahead and pulled her, and she got the standing ovation. And, I mean, obviously you've had a lot of great players come through the program, some all-time great pitchers as well. But just what has she kind of done over these? How would you summarize just all the greatness that we've seen over the last few years of her career?
I mean, it's pretty amazing, and I just, as the game kind of went on and we had it in hand, I really just wanted her to have a moment to kind of be recognized by our crowd, and I thought she really deserved that, and I wanted to kind of give that to her. She's not a kid who was expecting it at all, and we've never really done that before for a kid, but the score of the game and kind of how she'd pitched all 3 games, I felt like she certainly warranted it. And she's had, a fantastic career. She hasn't been able to maybe cap it off like some other pitchers have with the national championship yet. But yet, when you look at the totality of her career, and obviously with COVID, how long she's been able to pitch and how effective she's been and the growth she's made continually over the years, it definitely, goes down as certainly one of the, arguably the best pitching career at the college has had. Obviously, Brittany Miller had an amazing career as well, and Montana McNeely, really finished her career strong, and we've had others along the way too that have been really good. Claire Velasquez, obviously, and Karina Pavla, but certainly, Tayah arguably has certainly had the most success sustainably over a lot of years, especially when you just account all the strikeouts and different things too. So,
switching gears back to the offense, you mentioned hitting being contagious, and on Friday, really everybody in that lineup stepped up throughout the course of the game. Bryn breaks it open with the home run early. But what did it say about this group, kind of the ability to come together with their backs against the wall, and just not just have it be contagious, but also just have it be really successful, not just racking up a bunch of base hits, but, crushing some balls and really throwing some real haymakers?
We've led the country in home runs this year, so that's certainly been a part of our MO this year is to be able to hit the long ball. And it's come kind of, in a group of players, obviously, if you do it. So you kind of have our top 5 that have hit most of them, but then Ashley comes up with a couple big ones this weekend, and not necessarily in the home run category, but Tiani, I thought, had a really good series, and we kind of moved her up in the lineup in game 2 and 3, and she continued to kind of produce, and then obviously we inserted Kenzie, and Kenzie got a couple big hits, and so that just, our top of the order obviously has been really good, and whenever we can start to get more production out of the bottom half, that's when we become really scary, just because the order turns over and there's kids on base already when K2 and Sydney come up to bat, and that's usually when teams get in trouble pretty fast.
Yeah, and Mackenzie Burke comes in to lead off the top of the 4th inning. You have a pinch hit for Ashlyn Avon, and that ends up sparking a 5-run inning with 11 batters coming to the plate. What does it do for a team when somebody, it was her first career hit, when somebody that hasn't seen the field, hasn't had success throughout their career, can step up in a big moment like that and wake everything up? It seemed like that was really the turning point for running away with it.
Yeah, I think that was a big moment. Ashlyn has done a great job for us all year, but was just kind of struggling with getting the ball out of the air and was flying out a little bit too much. So we thought Kenzie, as a lefty and Bill in the slap, would maybe change the course of that and at least make him play defense a little bit more. And to her credit, she has a double down the left field line, and also was super excited and fired up as she should be, but that is kind of a contagious thing, and we had her doing it again toward the bottom of the lineup, and so that turned the lineup over, and then you had the top of the order up and led to the huge inning. So yeah, that was huge, and I think, like you said, just because it's someone who hasn't really been in that moment, to get their first career hit in that moment certainly energizes everybody.
For Bryn Nelson, Northwest Conference Player of the Year, she's delivered all year, but the big day on Friday when it mattered most. 6 for 8, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, first inning homers in each of those games to really set the tone. What did you just kind of observe out of Bryn and the way she conducted herself on Friday?
I was super proud of her. She was super disappointed with the day before, just because, she went 0 for. And our kids are so funny. Like, she was very, just the world was ending kind of in terms of, why didn't I hit good, and kind of question herself a little bit as we did BP and stuff. And, we just kind of talked and like, hitting's hard and you're not going to have a great day all the time and you're not going to be on all the time. So you just got to trust the training we put in for 4 months and just, in some ways simplify and see the ball, hit the ball and do what you've done all year. And I don't know if that was necessarily what her mentality was, but I think she obviously completely relaxed and trusted herself as soon as she hit that home run in the first game, and then just was lights out, the rest of the day. And she's just such a talented hitter and has done such a good job for us all year. It wasn't obviously a surprise that she had the day she did, but certainly it was gratifying just because obviously she didn't have the day she wanted the day before.
Ashley Sutton certainly kind of helped put the icing on the cake in Game 3, 3 for 3 with a pair of home runs. She hit 2 home runs all year. Obviously, we know she's capable of being a really skilled offensive player. Was working really hard to become the best catcher behind the plate this year. Played through the injury, taking a bat off the arm in Game 1 all week, too. What was it like to see her be able to have those moments in Game 3?
I mean, it was awesome. Ashley's certainly one of the emotional leaders of our team and does such a good job behind the plate. And I think that was something that was a little bit understated as, Central came in with one of the top base stealing teams in the country. And Ashley, again, was able to help negate that quite a bit. Obviously, us scoring runs, I think, helped negate that quite a bit because they couldn't risk the outs. But so that part was huge. She did a really good job again on defense. But then on top of that, adding the offense. And like you said, she's had an up and down year and been really frustrated. She's a kid with it, just like everybody wants to do great and wants to, be a 350 hitter and do all that. And this year hasn't really worked out for her that way. But she's just kept plugging away and fought the frustration and now gotten to the point where, we've just talked about, like, if your swing's not where it's at, you just got to battle and really have competitive at-bats and keep trying to make small adjustments. And to her credit, she's continued to do that and really is swinging the bat, obviously, just the last couple weekends better than she's done most of the year at the most critical time of the year. So that's been awesome for the team and for Ashley's confidence as well.
Shifting gears to this upcoming week, you guys will fly out tomorrow to Texas as the 1 seed in the 18 field. Kind of expected after being ranked number 1 in the country for about a month now. There's a couple teams you've played in this field, Virginia Wesleyan, Belhaven, a couple others, Rowan, etc., that you've seen the last couple of years, and certainly that you're familiar with most of these programs, at least throughout your coaching career. But how do things change when you get to this stage in the finals and you've got 4 teams in your bracket, but there's 8 teams at the field that you could be seeing in the next week and a half? I imagine preparation is completely different in some ways this week compared to certainly the regular season and even when you're facing one team for a series.
No, prep's a lot harder. Like, even just supers, you're preparing for one team, and then we had the benefit of the 2-team regional, we're preparing for one team, and then most of the league season you're preparing for one team a week, except for California, we had to prepare for 3, and when we went to Georgia for the leadoff classic, we prepared for several. So we're used to having to prepare for multiple, but you kind of really try to just approach it one game at a time to some and put most of your focus on the very first game, because in the 8-team regional, like, winning the first game is massive. You're just at such a disadvantage if you lose your first game, which happened to us last year. And so that all your focus really goes. You got to try to find a way to win that first game. And if you do, then you kind of set yourself up for at least a more manageable path to make a run. Once you lose the first game, like I said, it's just incredibly difficult. So, and we're familiar. We got to play both Belhaven and Virginia Wesleyan, but neither one threw their number 1 pitcher against us. So we're aware of that. They're both good teams, and we played well against them. We played really well in Georgia. So, but we know both are good, and it's been obviously 3 months or whatever since then. So I'm sure they both have improved. We don't know as much about Tufts. We haven't faced them since 15. We played them at the World Series. Know they're very well coached. The head coach now is the assistant back on that 15, and when they made their 3-year run, and so she knows how to win and knows how to get a team to that level. So we know they'll be really good. They played really well and beat Salisbury. Obviously, it was a great team last weekend. So we know it's going to be tough. The NCAA committee, I think, it's done a way better job of trying to space out all the seeds, and so you just definitely have a lot more, I think, of the top teams of the country generally at the World Series, which wasn't always the case in previous years. And the combination of the heat and the travel is going to make things tough. I mean, we leave our campus at 2 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. We'll travel most of the day and get in, and then we have to get up and practice at 8 in the morning their time, which is 6 a.m. our time. So we're getting up and waking up at 5:15 our time, and then going to practice. So, and then even the first day, the game's at 11, which is great, but that's 9 a.m. our time. You know what I mean? So everything's just, our clocks are going to be, how we adjust to that is going to be huge, and how we adjust to the heat and humidity is big, and then on top of that, you're playing good opponents. So it's certainly not an easy task, I would say, by any means. We know it's going to be tough. But it's also, what you played all year for, so we're excited about the opportunity.
The good news is most of this team has now been here before. Last year, obviously, making it this far with a large group of sophomores and Tayah leading the way as a senior pitcher. Now she's back as a fifth year. This group of juniors has been incredible all year long, and even younger players like Sydney Hess and players that didn't get a lot of reps like Tiani Wayne, Sophia Vandersum, and they've at least seen this process before. And going back 2 years ago to the regional in Marshall as well. How does that kind of change things here this year compared to last year going into this week?
I mean, it's like I said, there's our third year in a row going ETBU, so that part of it's gonna be pretty easy because there's not going to be a lot of surprises. Like we know how the kids will know how the practice day works. They know exactly what's going to be expected in the banquet. They know what the heat's like, all those sorts of things. So I think hopefully the experience of it. And I think last year being sophomore dominated kind of with part of the lineup, we certainly were a little, I think we're just a little bit. I told the kids I felt like we were just kind of waiting and seeing in the first game and against Co. And Co was a good team, and we didn't come out and play real well. And I thought sometimes you kind of have those moments where you can tell both teams are kind of feeling each other out, and no one really kind of asserts themselves. And I didn't think we were real assertive. And all of a sudden, Co was able to kind of break the game open late and steal the game from us in some ways. And then you just kind of, oh, crap. And then obviously we end up playing Shrine, who wins the whole thing, and lose an extra inning game in game two to a really good team, and you're out. And so that's a good reminder, I think, of you just got to be able to hopefully show up and play well and play with some determination and some focus right away and not have too much of that kind of feel each other out. Let's wait and see what happens kind of mentality, and just kind of like what happened in the Central game. Just make sure we're showing up to play our style of softball right from the beginning and not, play apprehensive. I think that's, if you play apprehensive, you're just not going to go very far.
Got to go take charge. Wildcats are the #1 team in the country and #1 seed in the 8-team NCAA Finals brackets. Game 1 will be Thursday against the Tufts Jumbos, the 8th seed, at 9 a.m. Pacific. Wildcats will fly in Tuesday. Banquet on Wednesday, where All-Americans and Players of the Year will be announced. And then first pitch, 9 a.m. Pacific on Thursday in Marshall, Texas, against the Tufts Jumbos to start off the NCAA Finals. Coach, thanks for the time. Good luck this week.
Yeah, appreciate it.